in her tomb by the side of the sea. So, and another inspiration of Poe was his aunt. She was the only family he became close to. She treated him as her own, and he saw her as his mother, especially after he married her daughter, Virginia. So, there you go. But that's the story behind the Raven, which I thought was quite interesting, because I didn't know that either. And he was also known as the originator of horror and detective fiction, and he inspired many writers that came after him. The one mostly inspired by him was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He was one of the most popular writers inspired by him, and became the author, of course, we know, of Sherlock Holmes. Doyle has said that he feels like Poe's stories were a model for all time. Stories like The Gold Bug and Poe's 3 stories about his detective, Chevalier C. Auguste Dupin. And the template Poe laid out in these stories acted as inspiration for Doyle's Sherlock Holmes stories. And when directly comparing the layout and the language of both of them, it's clear that Doyle saw Edgar as an inspiration. Recently, in popular culture, there have been many movies and television shows that are clearly inspired by Poe's work. There are over 250 movies, songs, and television shows. I wish I knew the songs. That would be good. Inspired by his work, and that number continues to grow. The Raven, of course. The film The Raven, starring John Cusack as Poe. That was an awesome movie. Yeah, I know. Well, shoot, look at Jerry Lee Lewis. He married his 14-year-old cousin. Apparently that was the thing to do. I don't know. I never understood that myself. But it's a good thing, like I said, I didn't live back then. So, but the Raven with John Cusack, have you all seen that? It's about a serial killer obsessed with Poe's work and uses his stories as a layout for his murders, and Poe is trying to catch the killer. And the basis of the film is the only one who can stop a serial killer is the man who inspired him. Yeah, you're not kidding. Crucified is an understatement, I think. That's crazy, isn't it? But the film The Raven, of course, directly from Poe. And I can't think of a person, an actor better. Can you think of anybody else could have played Poe as well as John Cusack? That was an awesome, awesome movie. If you have not seen it, please do. The television show, The Following. Oh my God, I was addicted to that show. The Following with Kevin Bacon and James Purefoy. I know, I liked the movie too. I don't know why it got such bad reviews. I don't go by critics because it's what they like, and I don't care what they like. One of the most popular inspirations, of course, was on Fox, The Following, starring Kevin Bacon. And the show is related to the idea that people became so obsessed with Poe's work that they form a cult of murderers. The Following put this into a modern, large-scale context, which I thought was... I love that show. That show was totally awesome. Kevin Bacon was... that was such a good show. I was sad when it ended. I was like, one of the best shows I've seen in a long time. Ambrose Bierce, who, like Arthur Conan Doyle, was directly inspired by Poe in many ways. But Bierce, it's a B, guys, Bierce, gravitated more toward the horror side of Poe's works rather than the detective stories. And one of Bierce's work is The Middle Toe of the Right Foot. And you can look that up. It's kind of a short story. So you can look that up. It's pretty cool. But that was an excellent... I liked that movie. I really did. I thought it was well done. But again, maybe they didn't like horror stuff. I don't know. I don't go by what critics say. I never did. Because I think that's, it's their opinion. They may not like that. I don't know. you know? So anyway, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, of course. Excuse me. Yeah, they do. They do. I agree. Yeah, I don't go by what they say. I never did. So, did you see the movie, Valerie? Just a question. Thought I'd ask. Stephen King was influenced by Poe. Clive Barker was influenced by Poe. I'm trying to think of who else. Da, da, da. And of course, a lot of his sayings, dream within a dream, and things like that. He really influenced King. Let me skip my notes here real quick. Edgar Allan Poe and Stephen King are two men who are separated by decades, yet seem to be similar. Both seem to be fixated with death and the means of such. They're both descriptive writers, but their ways of describing characters and settings are different. King seems to follow the less is more standard. His writing style is uncomplicated and simply tells the reader what his characters look like and what they feel. Such as this passage from Evil Things. When Nettie saw Polly's white puffy face and haggard eyes, her own fears, which had gnawed at her like sharp weasel's teeth as she walked over, were forgotten. The writer instantly knows much more about Nettie and Polly from this. Poe seems to drag statements out and use confusing language, such as this excerpt from The Fall of the House of Usher. He admitted, however, although with hesitation, that much of the peculiar gloom which thus affected him could be traced to a more natural and far more palpable origin, to the severe and long-continued illness. But he really influenced King. Both Edgar Poe and Stephen King do this in their writings. They delve into the more morbid realms of life. They have a similar morose obsession with death, terror, horror, and murder. And they usually come to an untimely demise. So you can really see the King is way more sick of that. They didn't think that way back then like they do now. So I think that's funny. Yeah, he's way more sick in the head. Now he's just, I think for the times that Poe wrote, for the time period that he wrote, I think it was, he would be their Stephen King, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So he influenced so many people. I want to check something real quick, but those are a couple of the most popular ones. but I think he would have been the king of his time, so to speak. Okay. In television and film, of course, the B films we all know with Vincent Price, House of Usher, Ravenland and Hazel Court, The Premature Burial, The Haunted Palace. But that one, The Haunted Palace, steals the title of Poe's poem, but it's more derived from the works of Lovecraft, in particular the case of Charles Dexter Ward. Likewise, middle segment in Tales of Terror, based on the Black Cat, and the other one, it was humorous, with Vincent Price, and he was the man, you know it. The Red Mask, Pit and the Pendulum, the Black Cat, followed the House of Usher, all those, Tomb of Lygia, all of those, he was totally, but that Trilogy of Terror, he had Vincent Price, Boris Karloff, and Peter Lorre. They were awesome in that. Universal Studios adapted several of Poe's stories and used other inspirational jump-off points, starring Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff. These films are usually treated as a forming part of the early Universal monster films. So, there you go. The educational film, The Strange Case of the Cosmic Rays by Frank Capra in 1957, contains a brief scene in which Poe, Charles Dickens, and some Russian, I'll butcher the name, and they appear as marionettes in that. In 2005, Lurker Films released an Edgar Allan Poe film collection on DVD, including short film adaptations of Annabelle Lee by director George Hickman, The Raven by director Peter Bradley, and The Telltale Heart by Alfonso Suarez. So there is an Edgar Allan Poe film collection, short films on those. So, the 2004 release of Hellboy contained a special 10-minute adaptation of The Telltale Heart and special features. Since 2004, New York animation producer Michael Sporn has been working on Poe, an animated feature of Poe's life and works. We all know the major ones. 2011, Edgar Allan Poe's The Cask of Amontillado, directed by Thad Chinacharsky, winner of an Emmy Award. 2015, Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, again directed by Thad Chinacharsky. Extraordinary Tales is an animated anthology of 5 stories adapted from Poe, followed The House of Usher, Telltale Heart, The Facts in the Case of N. Valdemar, The Pit and the Pendulum, and Mask of the Red Death. Each story is narrated by a different actor, and the voice cast includes Christopher Lee and Usher, Bela Lugosi, Telltale Heart, Julian Sands, Valdemar. I love Julian Sands. That's right. He was Poe was Lovecraft's biggest influence. Absolutely. Guillermo del Toro in The Pendulum, and Roger Corman in The Mask. So it's called Extraordinary Tales. So look for that. That was released in October 2015. Here's some inspirations. The movie serial Drums of Fu Manchu. Hi, Stephen. The Drums of Fu Manchu. The hero Alan Parker is trapped in a pit and pendulum peril. Okay, and a Poe story inspired him to do that. The Crow. Brandon Lee quotes and excerpts from The Raven while breaking into Gideon's pawn shop.